So today, we're diving into the tragic story of Ken Kaneki. He's just a normal college kid whose life gets completely turned upside down after one single horrifying night. We're about to jump into a world where, believe it or not, humans are no longer at the top of the food chain.
The story doesn't even start with our main character. It kicks off with this urgent dispatch call bouncing around the streets of Tokyo. Right from the get-go, you're thrown into a city that's basically at war with an enemy you can't even see, a battle that's happening just in the shadows of everyday life.
And that's the terrifying truth of this world. People are living right alongside predators that look just like them. It's a reality so messed up that most people just, they choose to ignore it, pretending the monsters aren't really out there. But way on the other side of this secret war, that's where we meet our guy, Ken Kaneki. He's a shy, pretty quiet university student, way more comfortable inside the pages of a book than dealing with the real world. His life is, well, it's quiet, it's predictable, and it feels safe. For now. Anyway.
His life is almost painfully normal. His biggest worries are getting up the nerve to ask out the girl he likes and having his best friend Hyde give him a hard time about it. His world is this small, safe little bubble, completely separate from the darkness that's lurking right outside.
But while Kaneki's just living his life, the city is terrified. The news is all about these ghoul attacks. And these things, they're the city's new apex predators. They look human, but they have a very specific and very horrifying diet. Us. And then, just like that, his world changes. But not in the way you'd think. He finds out that his crush, this really beautiful girl named Rise, loves the exact same author he does. And boom, his dream comes true. He actually gets a date. For a quiet, bookish kid like Kaneki, this is everything. He's finally found someone who gets him, who shares his passion. It feels like a perfect connection. Almost too perfect.
The date is amazing. They talk for hours about books, they're laughing. It's perfect. But as he's walking her home, the grim reality of their city kind of creeps in. Rise brings up the ghoul attacks, pretending to be scared, and it gives Kaneki the perfect chance to be her hero. But that perfect date is about to become an absolute living nightmare. What happens next? It's a kind of horrifying rebirth, a moment that is going to change him forever.
And this is the moment of truth. In a quiet, empty alley, Rise shows him who she really is. She's not just a fellow book lover. She's a ghoul. And Kaneki? He was never her date. He was her dinner.
Just as Rise lunges at a terrified Kaneki, a total freak accident saves his life. A bunch of steel beams from a construction site right above them just fall, crushing Rise and leaving Kaneki barely alive. So in the middle of all the chaos at the hospital, a doctor makes this desperate split-second decision. Kaneki is dying on the table, and the doctor performs an emergency organ transplant using the only organs available, the ones from the ghoul who just tried to eat him. Yeah, he saved Kaneki's life, but without knowing it, he's done something monstrous. He has literally sewn the organs of a predator into the body of its prey.
So Kaneki wakes up. He's alive, but he's forever changed. And it doesn't take long for him to realize that something is deeply, fundamentally wrong. His own body has just become a cage.
And this is his new, awful reality. The food he used to love, everything from his favorite burger to just plain hospital food, it all tastes like dirt. But the people walking down the street, they start to smell absolutely irresistible. He's completely trapped in this state of pure horror. His mind is screaming that he's human, that he's still him, but his body, which is now running on ghoul biology, is telling him a completely different, terrifying story. So he starts doing these frantic, desperate tests, trying to prove he's still human. First, he tries to eat the hamburger his friend Hide brings him. He can't even swallow it. Then he remembers a news report about how tough ghouls are, so he grabs a kitchen knife and tries to stab himself. The blade doesn't even scratch him. This hunger, it's just this gnawing, unbearable instinct he has no control over. It literally pulls him out into the night, drawn by a scent his new body desperately craves, and it leads him straight into the hidden, brutal world of the ghouls. He finds the source of that sickeningly sweet smell, and it's not food, it's a dead body, and there's another ghoul already there claiming its meal. This is his first real look into the world he's now a part of.
and he immediately gets caught in this violent turf war. The ghoul, a guy named Nishiki, sees Kaneki as competition, a trespasser on his hunting grounds. But before he can be killed, another ghoul, Toka, shows up and intervenes, claiming the area for her group. Kaneki is just a terrified bystander in a game he doesn't even understand. After she saves him, Toka sees what he is. He's basically a newborn ghoul, starving and completely in denial, and she has zero patience for his human feelings. She tries to literally force-feed him a piece of a human corpse, telling him to just accept what he is. But he can't do it, and that's Kaneki's agonizing problem, right? Physically, he is a ghoul. He's driven by this insane hunger for human flesh. But his mind, his heart, that's still Ken Kaneki, the kid who loves books and wouldn't hurt a fly. He refuses to become a monster. And that just leaves us with this haunting question. When you're not human anymore, but you refuse to be a monster, what do you become? When you're caught between two worlds and you don't belong in either one, which one do you fight for?
Okay, just imagine this for a second. You wake up one day and everything you love to eat, everything that makes you, well, you, suddenly tastes like absolute garbage. And the only thing that smells even remotely good? Other people. Yeah, this is the new, terrifying reality for a college kid named Ken Kaneki.
You can just hear the desperation in his voice there, can't you? He's trying to convince himself as much as anyone else. He's clinging to this identity that his own body is viciously rejecting. He's trapped between two worlds, and he doesn't belong in either. So how on earth did he get here? Let's dive into the moment his entire life just fell apart.
So first up, a world turned upside down. And honestly, that's putting it mildly. This is about the transformation. The single moment his life was shattered, forcing him into a reality he never even knew existed, one that was hiding just under the surface of our own.
You know, for Kaneki, this wasn't some slow, gradual change. Nope. It was sudden, it was violent, and it was absolute. One single, catastrophic event took his totally normal life and twisted it into this waking nightmare. So how did it happen? Well, it was a total freak accident. Steel beams from a construction site just fall. Kaneki is critically injured, and in a last-ditch effort to save his life, a doctor performs an emergency organ transplant. But here's the twist. The donor, the girl who was with him, she wasn't human. She was a ghoul.
And just like that, everything changes. He has ghoul organs fused inside his human body. He's not one of them, but he's definitely not human anymore either. He's a half-breed, something that's not even supposed to exist, let alone survive for long.
Which brings us to our next section, the nature of the beast. Because now, Kaneki has no choice. He has to learn the rules of this new world. He has to figure out what it actually means to be a ghoul.
The biology is really simple and completely horrifying. Ghouls look just like us. They walk among us, but their bodies are only built to digest one thing: human flesh. Anything else, any normal food that we eat, is totally and utterly repulsive to them.
I mean, think about that. That's a massive biological wall between him and his old life. The food we love, something simple like a piece of cake, is described by ghouls as tasting, and I'm quoting here, like horse crap. Kaneki's whole world has been flipped upside down.
And this isn't just about missing his favorite foods. Oh no, it's so much worse. It's about being tormented by a new primal hunger, a hunger that can only be satisfied in one terrible way. It's not a craving, it's a constant, agonizing hell.
So, with his own body waging a war on his mind, what keeps Kaneki from just completely falling apart? Well, that brings us to our next part, clinging to humanity. And for him, that humanity has a name: Hyde.
Hyde is his anchor, his last connection to the person he used to be. Now, Hyde has no idea about the whole ghoul thing, of course. He just knows his best friend is acting super weird, and he's worried. But Hyde is sharp, you know? He can tell something is deeply wrong, and that friendship is the one thing keeping Kaneki grounded.
And that really raises the stakes. For Kaneki, it's about more than just survival. It's about his identity, his connection to the world. His greatest fear is that if he gives in to this monster inside him, he'll lose the most important person in his life. He'll lose himself.
But you can't hide from this new world forever. He and Hyde run into another ghoul on campus, a guy named Nishio. And Nishio, he knows what Kaneki is immediately. He can smell it, and he looks at Hyde, not as a person, but as prey.
Nishio is just cruel.
He taunts Kaneki, trying to force his darkest, most terrifying thoughts out into the open. He's trying to get Kaneki to see his best friend as nothing more than a meal. And just like that, Kaneki's internal struggle becomes a very real, very violent external one.
But Kaneki's response is instant. He is not food. That's it. That's his line in the sand. That is the one thing he will not accept, no matter how hungry he is.
And this right here is the crucial part. In the fight that follows, his ghoul powers finally awaken, but they don't come out because of hunger or malice. They erupt from his desperate, very human desire to protect Hyde. The monster inside him literally saves his humanity.
So after that fight, he's a mess, beaten, on the verge of starvation, and then he's found. And for the very first time, he's offered not a threat, but the possibility of help, a little glimmer of hope.
He's taken to this quiet little coffee shop called Antiku. On the surface, it's completely normal, but really, it's a safe haven, run by ghouls for ghouls, and the manager, a man named Yoshimura, sees Kaneki's struggle and offers him guidance.
And it's here that he starts learning the basics of how to survive. For one, he finds out that coffee is the only thing ghouls can have that tastes like it does to humans. It doesn't help with the hunger, but it's something. And more importantly, he learns that Antiku provides a discrete food source for ghouls who refuse to hunt people, a way to live without becoming a predator.
So where does all this leave him? Well, it brings us right back to the central question of finding a place in both worlds. He feels totally trapped between these two warring parts of himself, completely alone in this unique and frankly terrible position.
This is Kaneki at his lowest point. He feels like he's been rejected by the human world he can no longer be a part of, and he's an outsider in the ghoul world he doesn't even understand. He truly believes he is completely alone.
But Yoshimura offers him a totally different way of looking at it, a radical new perspective. He tells Kaneki his position isn't a curse, it's a unique identity. He's not trapped between two worlds, he's the only person who actually has a place in both.
And with that, he's given an offer. Join us, come work at Antiku, learn our ways, learn how we live. This is an opportunity not just to survive, but to finally understand the ghoul world, and in doing that, maybe, just maybe, understand the new person he's become.
And that leaves us with the central question of his entire journey, doesn't it? When your very nature is a contradiction, does that make you an outcast, destined to be alone forever? Or does it make you the only one who can possibly build a bridge between two worlds that only see each other as enemies?
All right, let's dive right in. Ever wonder what's lurking just below the surface of a place like modern-day Tokyo? We're talking about a society that lives entirely in the shadows, a world of hunters and hunted, existing right under our noses. Today, we're exploring the hidden world of Tokyo Ghoul.
A safe haven? Kind of makes you wonder, right? A haven from what? And who needs it? This one line drops a huge hint that there's a whole community out there under siege and needing a place to hide in plain sight. This is our way in.
And that way in? Believe it or not, it's this seemingly ordinary neighborhood coffee shop called Antiku. You walk in, it smells amazing, like freshly ground beans. The staff is super polite, but there's definitely something else brewing here besides espresso.
You know, at Anteyuku, it's all about the craft. The philosophy is simple. If you focus, if you put in the effort, the coffee will be perfect. It feels so calm, so peaceful, and meticulously normal. But that ordinary surface? It is dangerously thin. Because here's the truth, the big reveal. Anteiku isn't just a coffee shop. It's a support system, a community center, and a sanctuary for creatures who look human, but biologically, there's something else entirely. Creatures called ghouls, who can only survive by consuming human flesh.
So that raises a pretty big question, doesn't it? If you're trying to lay low, why in the world would you run a public-facing business and invite the very people you prey upon inside for a latte? I mean, it feels completely counterintuitive, a huge risk.
And here is the answer. And man, it is chillingly practical. See, serving humans isn't just a cover, it's research. It's how ghouls study human behavior, our mannerisms, our speech, all to perfect their disguise and survive in a world that would absolutely destroy them if it found out. So what's it really like to be a ghoul trying to pass as human? Blending in is so much more than just acting the part. It involves this constant and honestly pretty disgusting battle against your own biology.
Okay, for starters, ghouls absolutely cannot eat human food. It's not just that they don't like it, their bodies violently reject it.
So what we perceive as a delicious meal, to them tastes completely revolting. Imagine trying to eat a sandwich where the bread feels like a wet sponge and the cheese has the texture and smell of rancid clay.
Yeah.
So to keep up the act, to look normal at a dinner with friends, they have to follow this really grim set of steps. It's a whole nauseating performance, a rehearsed act of normalcy that ends in a desperate race to a bathroom before their body tries to digest what is basically poison to them.
And this is where a place like Antiku becomes so important. They provide these specialized sugar cubes to manage the hunger pangs. And more importantly, they offer a food source that doesn't involve murder. They scavenge the bodies of suicide victims, allowing their community to survive without creating more violence.
But look, even with all these systems in place, survival is never guaranteed. Why? Because there's an organization out there whose sole purpose is to hunt them down. An organization known to ghouls by a chilling nickname, the Doves.
These so-called Doves are actually investigators from the Commission of Counter Ghoul, or CCG. They are the only force on Earth equipped and authorized to take on ghouls, and you better believe they are incredibly good at their job. In this urban jungle, they are the apex predators.
And their mission isn't about containment or control. Oh no, it is straight up eradication. As their leadership says, their sworn duty is to drive every last ghoul out of Tokyo. There is no compromise, no coexistence. For the CCG, this is a war of extermination.
And guess what? That war is coming right to Ante-iku's front door. The once quiet 20th Ward, our story's setting, is now seeing a spike in ghoul activity. So in response, the CCG has sent in 2 of its absolute best investigators. The hunters have arrived.
Okay, so with the threat level rising, we come to the final, and maybe the most important tool for ghoul survival. It's something that is both a practical piece of equipment and a powerful symbol for their entire existence.
Just think about it for a second. You have a human life, a job, friends, a place to live, and you also have a ghoul life where you have to feed and fight. So how do you keep those 2 worlds from colliding and destroying you? How do you keep the Doves from connecting the monster they see at night with the person they see during the day?
You wear a mask, a literal physical mask, often custom-made, and it is the single most important tool a ghoul has. If an investigator sees your face, your human life is over. The mask allows you to exist as a ghoul without sacrificing your fragile human identity.
And this is where it gets really deep. See, that physical mask is only worn when hunting or fighting, but ghouls are forced to wear a metaphorical mask every single second they are pretending to be human. It's a mask of normalcy they can never, ever take off.
Which leaves us with the ultimate question at the heart of this entire world. When you're forced to live a lie, to fight your own body, and to hide from hunters who want you dead, what happens to the person underneath all those masks? Can a human mind truly survive inside the body of a monster?
In the world of Tokyo Ghoul, surviving is all about seeing the monster hiding behind the mask. And today, we're going to break down an absolute masterclass in deception. We're talking about that critical turning point where a charming invitation turns into a desperate fight for our protagonist's very soul.
So, listen to this line. These are the words of Shoot Tsukiyama, the predator at the very center of this whole mess. I mean, it sounds almost sincere, right? Kinda lonely even. But as you're about to see, this isn't some plea for friendship. Oh no, it's the carefully chosen bait in one heck of a sophisticated trap.
All right, so let's pull back the curtain on this guy. First up, meeting the predator who's hiding right in plain sight.
Okay, so this first meeting in Ante-iku is just immediately unsettling. You've got Tsukiyama, right? So flamboyant, asking all these weird, intrusive questions, and he just zeroes right in on Kaneki. He even calls him a morsel. I mean, you can just feel the tension in the room absolutely spike. His whole vibe is so jarring, it puts everyone on edge, and right away you know something is deeply wrong here.
And Tuka, she doesn't mess around. Her warning is so blunt, so immediate. This isn't just her saying, "Oh, I don't like this guy's personality." No, this is a serious heads up about a known threat. And that word she uses, parasite, that is so key. It tells you everything you need to know. Tsukiyama doesn't just hunt people, he latches on and completely drains them.
And this really gets to the heart of his whole game. On one side, you've got the mask he shows to Kaneki, this cultured intellectual guy, a misunderstood book lover, right? But then you have the horrifying truth that all the other ghouls know. He's the gourmet, a cannibal with let's just say, notoriously perverse tastes. Two completely different faces.
Okay, so while Tsukiyama is off plotting in the shadows, Kaneki's actually on his own quest. He's searching for answers about the ghoul who completely turned his world upside down. You gotta remember, Kaneki is still trying to wrap his head around this new reality. And his huge piece of that puzzle is understanding Rise Kamashiro, the ghoul whose organs are now literally inside him. So this search for answers takes him deep into the ghoul underworld, where he finds an information broker named Itori, a woman who deals in secrets. And right away, Itori just drops a bombshell on him. She plants this huge seed of doubt about the one event that started everything for Kaneki. I mean, the official story is that Rise died in some freak accident, but Itori's like, really? A ghoul that powerful doesn't just happen to get crushed by falling steel beams? She's hinting that someone might have wanted her dead. And if that wasn't enough, the second thing she reveals is even crazier. Itori starts talking about how incredibly rare one-eyed ghouls are, and then she brings up these urban legends about a naturally born half-human, half-ghoul. This is a massive hint that our boy Kaneki, as unique as he is, might not be the only one out there. It just blows the lore of this world wide open. So, with Kaneki's head spinning with all these new mysteries, Tsukiyama sees his opening. It's time to start setting the perfect trap.
And let me tell you, Tsukiyama is an absolute master manipulator. He doesn't go in with force, not at all. He uses empathy, or at least a twisted version of it. He finds that common ground with Kaneki over their favorite author, and then, and this is the most cunning part, he exploits their shared connection to Rise. He paints this picture of himself as just another lonely guy who misses her. It's brilliant and just awful.
And what's so crucial to understand is that none of this is random. It's a calculated hunt from start to finish. Step 1, identify the target, the super rare one-eyed ghoul. Step 2, build a fake friendship over books. Step 3, prey on Kaneki's loneliness and grief by using Rise's memory against him. And finally, Step 4, lure him in for the capture. Every single move is completely deliberate.
Then we get this moment where Kaneki accidentally cuts his finger. Tsukiyama gets one whiff of his blood, and in that private moment, oh man, the mask completely shatters. It was never ever about friendship. It was always about consumption. He doesn't see a person, he sees the ultimate delicacy. So, all the pieces are in place. Kaneki, our lonely book lover, has been successfully groomed. And now, he's walking completely willingly right into the slaughterhouse. Tsukiyama's lie is just perfect. He tells Kaneki he's taken him to a place that Riza used to love. Kaneki, of course, totally buys it. Then comes the weird part. He's asked to shower and change clothes. It's odd, for sure, but Kaneki is so desperate for a friend, he just goes along with it. It's so chilling, like this ritualistic preparation, treating him like a fancy dish before it even hits the table. And this is the moment of pure horror. Suddenly, the lights flare up, and that comforting little room, it's gone. Kaneki finds himself standing on a stage, blinded by spotlights, and looking out at a sea of masked, hungry faces. That quiet, special place he was promised? Yeah, it's actually a grotesque, terrifying arena.
The trap has sprung, and we finally learn its true, horrifying name.
And there's Tsukiyama, now playing master of ceremonies to this whole twisted audience of fellow gourmets. That charming, friendly mask is just gone. It's been replaced by this over-the-top showman, a sick restaurateur presenting his prized dish to a room full of cannibals. Yeah, the main dish isn't some exotic animal. It's him. That sickening realization that you weren't invited to dinner, you are the dinner.
And then Tsukiyama explains exactly why Kaneki is the ultimate prize. It's this paradox, right? He's a ghoul, but he still has that inescapable, sweet scent of a human. That one-of-a-kind combination makes him this legendary delicacy, a flavor that probably no one in that entire arena has ever even dreamed of tasting.
But just when it seems like all hope is lost, the entire power dynamic in this arena is about to get violently flipped on its head.
They send in this massive, hulking executioner, they call him a scrapper, to, prepare the meal. Kaneki is terrified, he's totally outmatched, his attacks are doing absolutely nothing, he's cornered, he's about to be literally torn apart for the sick amusement of this crowd.
And then, everything changes. Pushed to the absolute limit, Kaneki's true nature just erupts. That single ghoul eye snaps open. His real power is unleashed. And Tsukiyama, the guy who planned this whole thing,
He can only stand there and watch in total shock. His perfect dish is something so much more powerful than he could have ever imagined.
And that's where we leave things. Talk about a plan backfiring spectacularly. In his obsessive quest for some unique flavor, Tsukiyama's arrogance just blew up in his face. He didn't just capture a meal, he might have just unleashed a force that could shift the balance of the entire ghoul world. The hunter, by accident, has just created a brand new and maybe far more dangerous predator.
Let's talk about a world that looks just like ours, but it's hiding a pretty terrifying secret. You see, living right alongside us, totally hidden in plain sight, are these beings called ghouls. They look like us, they sound like us, but there's one horrifying catch. They can only survive by eating human flesh. Yeah, welcome to the world of Tokyo Ghoul, a story that's constantly asking this one chilling question. If you have to be a monster to survive, what part of your humanity do you even bother fighting for? And right out of the gate, we get hit with this worldview. It's a chilling way to justify what they do, isn't it? The idea isn't just about survival. It's a whole philosophy that by preying on humans, the planet's top predator, ghouls are actually restoring some kind of natural balance. It's a completely twisted thought, but it really makes you wonder. Are they just monsters, or are they a messed up but necessary piece of the puzzle? That's the tension we're going to dive into. So, first up, a world of two appetites. I mean, how do you even live when your own body makes you a predator? This is all about that deep internal struggle, the war between the monster that has to eat and the person who just wants to live a normal life. And this right here just perfectly captures the tragedy of being a ghoul. On one side, you've got this beautiful, simple act of friendship, a meal made by someone who cares about you. And on the other side, the brutal reality. For a ghoul like Toka, that kindness is literal poison. She has to make herself violently ill on purpose just to protect that one human friendship she has left. It's such a painful, perfect metaphor for their whole existence. That's our main guy, Kaneki, reacting, and you can feel the shock, right? It's probably the same way we'd react. The sheer desperation of what Toka's doing shows you just how much that friendship means to her. It's not just about hiding a secret. It's about desperately clinging to the part of her that isn't a monster, even if it means constant, agonizing pain. That's how much her humanity is worth to her. Okay, so if the internal battle is that brutal, what in the world happens when a ghoul tries to love a human? The conflict kind of shifts outward now, really testing if something like love can actually bridge that gap between predator and prey. And Kaneki asks the million-dollar question, the one that just hangs over this entire world. He's talking to Kimi, who is the human girlfriend of this really cynical, pretty violent ghoul named Nishio. I mean, in a world that runs on fear and survival, why would any human choose to love the monster hiding in the shadows? And her answer is just, it's so simple, but it hits you like a ton of bricks. This is the real emotional core of the story. Kimi's love isn't complicated. She knows what Nishio is. She knows what he has to do to survive, but her love for him is bigger than all that ugly reality. It's just this incredibly powerful, unwavering statement that gives you a tiny little sliver of hope in this otherwise pitch-black world. Now here's the kicker. Look at the effect she has on Nishio. This is a guy who's all about survival. He's been betrayed, he's scarred, and he truly believed that trusting anyone, especially a human, was basically a death sentence. But Kimi's love, it doesn't just make him feel loved. It completely changes his reason for living. Suddenly, just surviving isn't enough. Now he has someone who is worth dying for. But in a world this dark, hope tends to attract the worst kinds of monsters. So let's meet Tsukiyama, also known as the gourmet. While everyone else is wrestling with their monstrous nature, this guy absolutely revels in it. For him, killing isn't about survival. Oh no, it's an art form. It's a sick, twisted game. Just listen to the way he talks. It's all so polite and flowery, and it just makes your skin crawl. It's a total mask for the predator underneath. He doesn't see people. He sees ingredients. And he's developed this very specific and very, very dangerous obsession with Kaneki. And here's his plan, laid out in all its horrifying glory. He doesn't just want to eat Kaneki. No, that's too simple. He wants to break him first. He wants to set the stage for this moment of ultimate despair, forcing Kaneki to become a true monster right before he gets eaten himself. It is a game of pure psychological terror. At the end of the day, Tsukiyama's entire motivation is just pure, selfish indulgence. He's a connoisseur of flesh, and to him, Kaneki is the rarest, most perfect delicacy. And that just reduces everyone, Kaneki, Kimi, Nishio, to props in his own sick and twisted dinner party. So, when you're faced with a monster like that, you kind of need some other monsters to fight him. Tsukiyama's sadism pushes our characters into this desperate, totally unstable alliance. You have enemies who would normally be trying to kill each other, and now they have to fight on the same team.
And you can bet their reasons for teaming up are all over the place. Kaneki feels responsible, like this is all his fault. Nishio is fighting purely out of love, just to save Kimi. And then there's Toka, who's always the pragmatist. For her, it's simple. There's a threat, and it needs to be eliminated. 3 different ghouls, 3 totally separate motivations, all pointed at one big, terrifying enemy.
All right, so this sets the stage for the final showdown, and it is so much more than just a fight. It's a clash of philosophies. What does it mean to be a ghoul? Is it about survival? Is it about pleasure? Or is it about protecting the people you love? Okay, quick timeout, because you need to know this for the fight. A kagune? It's basically a ghoul's biological weapon. It's this predatory organ that comes out of their body, and here's the important part. Its strength is directly tied to how much human flesh they've eaten. Remember that. It's about to become very important. And here is where the tragic irony comes full circle. Remember Toka's struggle from the beginning? Her noble, desperate attempt to hold onto her humanity has left her physically broken. In this world, trying to be good, trying to be human, has literally made her a weaker monster. The Alliance's strongest fighter is now its biggest liability.
And on the flip side, you've got Tsukiyama. He indulges every single one of his monstrous cravings, so he is at his absolute peak. He's just toying with the weakened Tanaka, and his strength is this brutal proof of his philosophy. To win, you don't just have to be a monster, you have to enjoy it.
But you should never, ever count Toka out. Her body might be failing, but her spirit is on fire. That quote, it's not just a threat, it's a declaration. Her will to protect her friends is so much stronger than her own weak body. She's proving that real strength isn't just about what you eat, it's about what you're willing to fight for. So, with Toka on the brink of losing, Kaneki makes this desperate, absolutely horrifying choice. He gets it. For her Kagune to power up, she needs to feed, right now. So, in this unbelievable act of sacrifice and trust, he offers her a piece of himself. He lets his ally become a cannibal, betting everything on this one monstrous act to save them all. And that's really what it all boils down to, isn't it? The story is constantly forcing its characters and us to face this question. Is it love? Is it friendship? Is it just your own personal code? In a world that demands you give up your humanity just to stay alive, you have to find something, anything that makes that terrible sacrifice worthwhile.
All right, today we're going to break down a single, absolutely heartbreaking storyline from Tokyo Ghoul. It's a story that really gets to the core of what the whole series is about. We're talking family, loss, and that brutal moment when 2 worlds collide, forcing you to ask, who are the real monsters here? Let's get into it. And really, this quote from Kaneki, it's everything. This is the key that unlocks the entire story arc we're about to explore. It's a massive realization for him, born from some serious tragedy, so just keep this idea in the back of your mind as we go.
Okay, Section 1. So our story kicks off at Antaku, the ghoul-run coffee shop that's kind of a fragile sanctuary. After some recent, pretty intense violence, there's this weird new status quo taking shape. You've got old enemies just quietly trying to coexist.
And the biggest change of all, Nishio Nishiki, the super hostile ghoul from before, is now working there. He's not suddenly passionate about customer service, though. He's at Enteku for their, let's call it, guilt-free food supply. And he's doing it all for one reason, his human girlfriend, Kimi. He has completely changed his life just to protect her.
So when someone asks him why he's suddenly working a 9-to-5, this is his classic, blunt answer. And this one line, it just lays out our whole theme right there. A ghoul's entire world is being turned upside down, not by force, but because he loves a human.
But, this piece is hanging by a thread. We get introduced to Raiko and Hinami Fuguchi, a ghoul mother and daughter, and they are just going through it.
Little Hinami is acting out, totally devastated that her dad has disappeared. Meanwhile, her mom, Raiko, is carrying this massive weight, knowing that her husband's past could come back to haunt them at any second.
And that fragile piece? Yeah, it's about to be completely shattered. For every ghoul family just trying to get by, there's another side of the coin. There are the government investigators, the guys who don't see a family or relationships, they just see a target. So on one side, you have Ryoko and Hinami, and what they want is so incredibly simple, so human, right? They just want their family to be whole again. They want to live in peace and wait for their husband and father to come home.
And on the other side, you've got the Doves, the CCG's ghoul investigators. We're talking about the chillingly weird veteran, Kuri Yamato, and his more by-the-book partner, Kotaro Amon. Their motivation is also simple: extermination.
And their strategy is just cold. It's methodical, it's predatory. They plan to use the remains of a ghoul they just killed, who happens to be Hinami's father, as bait. They know his family will eventually come looking for him. I mean, think about that. They are literally using a father's memory to hunt down his wife and child.
And this is it. This is where both sides are put on a collision course. While the hunters are busy laying their trap, we see this beautiful little moment of innocence that's about to be just destroyed.
Man, this moment just perfectly captures the tragedy that's coming. Hinami has zero clue about the danger. She's just studying with Kaneki, learning new words. And her reason is so pure. She just wants to impress her dad and plan a surprise for his birthday. She's just a hopeful little kid.
So while they're studying, Kaneki teaches Hinami a new word as they head to the bookstore: cloudburst. Seems like a tiny, totally random detail, right? Well, it's about to become agonizingly important in just a few minutes.
A cloudburst is just a sudden, heavy downpour that ends pretty quick. And as Hinami and her mother are out walking, that is exactly what happens. The rain starts falling, and this is critical. Why? Because rain messes with the ghouls' incredibly powerful sense of smell, which is basically their danger alarm.
And right then, the Doves' plan works perfectly. They've planted the bait, and even through the rain, Hinami's love for her dad is so strong, she recognizes his scent. She thinks he's back. So she gets excited and runs right towards it, her mom chasing after her, leading them straight into the trap.
What comes next is one of the most brutal, defining moments in the entire story. It's where a mother's powerful love is met with a predator's absolute, chilling indifference. The second Ryoko realizes they've walked into an ambush, her only instinct is to protect her child. She doesn't fight back, she doesn't beg for her own life, she just uses her body as a shield for Hinami and tells her to run, making a promise she knows she can't keep. It is the ultimate act of a mother's love. But for the hunters, this incredible act of sacrifice, it means nothing. They don't see a mother protecting her child. They just see a monster doing something. There's no empathy, no recognition of the family bond that they are tearing apart forever.
And this line from Mato, wow, it says it all. He's not just unmoved by what he's seeing, he's actively disgusted by it. In his mind, a ghoul can't feel an emotion like love, so Ryoko's sacrifice is just a pathetic, gross imitation of a human act. It's the total dehumanization of his victim.
So the event is over, but the impact is just starting to ripple out. For Kaneki, who sees the aftermath, this whole tragedy forces this horrifying, world-altering shift in how he understands everything.
It's like everything just clicks into place for Kaneki. He's seen the love Nishio has for Kimi, a human. He sees the friendship between his ghoul co-worker Toka and her human friend Yoriko. And now, he's just witnessed the ultimate sacrifice of a ghoul mother for her ghoul child. He realizes the emotions are identical. The bonds are the same. And this table here lays it out perfectly. It doesn't matter if it's romantic love between a ghoul and a human, a protective friendship, or the unconditional family love between two ghouls. It's all rooted in the same thing. The species doesn't matter. The love, the grief, the sacrifice, it's universal.
And that all leads us to the final, haunting question that this story leaves you with. In a world where a ghoul can die for her child and a man can kill her without a second thought, where exactly is the line between monster and man? It forces you to realize that those simple labels of good and evil, they almost never hold up, do they?
All right, today we're jumping right into a conflict that just explodes from one single tragic event in Tokyo's 20th ward. And this isn't about some grand battle plan. No, this is about a really raw clash of ideas that makes everyone involved stop and ask themselves, What in the world does justice actually mean? Watching ghouls mimic human behavior is like bad theater. And that line right there, that's really where this whole thing kicks off. It's a worldview that is so cynical, so completely dehumanizing, that it basically sets the stage for all the horror that's about to unfold. This one sentence from a top investigator just shows you how massive the gap is between the two sides of this fight. So, what was the spark? Like a lot of conflicts, it all starts with a death. But it's the way it happens and who's forced to watch that turns this from a tragedy into the thing that just ignites a firestorm. The facts of it are just brutal. A ghoul mother, Ryoko, gets cornered by investigators from the Commission of Counter-Ghoul, and in her last moments, all she's trying to do is protect her little girl, but she's killed, and her daughter has to watch the whole thing happen. This is what's really chilling, though. The mindset behind the act. For Investigator Mado, this isn't just getting a job done. It's like a twisted performance. He's not just taking out a threat, he is literally enjoying the despair he's creating. This isn't about keeping people safe. For him, this is personal. It's cruel. So, as you'd expect, word of Ryoko's death spreads like wildfire, and it reaches the ghoul community over at the Anatuku coffee shop. And almost immediately, their shared grief just shatters into this huge philosophical debate. And this is the question that's just hanging in the air for everyone, right? Do they just take the loss and focus on surviving? Or do they hit back, demand an eye for an eye? Whatever they decide is going to determine the fate of everybody in the 20th Ward. And this really shows you the two completely different ways of thinking. On one side, you've got Tuka. She's coming from a place of, this is just morally right. They did something wrong, they need to be punished, end of story. But then on the other side, you have the cafe manager, Yoshimura. He's the pragmatist. He's looking at the bigger picture, saying, hey, the consequences of getting revenge, all of us getting wiped out, it's just not worth it. It's a total clash between moral principle and just practical survival. And Yoshimura's philosophy here, it goes even deeper than just trying to survive. What he's really saying is that chasing revenge, it's its own kind of trap. It's a prison that just eats away at a person until there's nothing left. In his mind, the real tragedy isn't that you can't get even. It's that you get so obsessed with it that you completely forget how to live. Okay, so we've seen the ghouls side of things, right? All driven by Toka's call for vengeance. But now let's pivot. Because her anger is aimed at an enemy that she sees as just this one giant, faceless monster. But the truth about the investigators, the so-called doves, is way, way more complicated. The CCG isn't some hive mind. It's an organization, yeah, but it's made up of people. And every single one of them has their own reason for being there. They're not just a faceless enemy. They're driven by their own sense of duty, their own ideas of justice, and maybe most importantly, their own painful losses. And really, their reasons are all over the map. You've got some, like the idealistic Kusaba, who are genuinely driven by this heroic need to protect innocent people. Then you have others who are just fueled by the pain of losing their own friends and partners in the line of duty. And then you have Mado. For some, years of this brutal work just creates this deep, dark cynicism that poisons everything. And here's Mado again, and this quote really tells you everything about where his darkness comes from. This isn't just some casual opinion. It's a worldview that's been hammered into him by trauma. He has seen way too many idealistic young partners die. So for him, being earnest isn't a good thing. It's a fatal mistake. And his cynicism, it's like a shield he's built out of grief. But then, boom, you get this immediate contrast. A younger investigator, Kusaba, looks at the exact same intensity in his partner and sees the complete opposite. He's inspired by it. He sees it as this pure, unwavering dedication to justice. And this just perfectly highlights the huge split inside the CCG itself. You've got the hardened, jaded veterans on one side and the hopeful newcomers on the other. So, with these two opposing forces now totally clear, somebody's got to make a move. And back at Anteiku, Toka, she decides she's done waiting. She's choosing the path of vengeance. So she throws all of Yoshimura's warnings out the window and takes matters into her own hands. She's completely fueled by this righteous anger and grief, and she goes out and hunts down the CCG investigators to get payback for Ryoko. And what does her attack actually accomplish? Well, it's met with something even more cruel. Mado doesn't just fight her off, he mocks her. He taunts her with the awful details of her friend's death, and then threatens the little girl who's now an orphan. Her quest for justice only ends up creating more hatred.
Is this what justice looks like? So what happens? It's a total disaster. She's completely outsmarted, she gets badly hurt, and she barely manages to get away. Yoshimura's cold, pragmatic prediction came true word for word. A direct emotional attack was never going to work. And when she gets back, beaten, Yoshimura doesn't offer any sympathy. All he offers is a harsh lesson. She made a choice that put the entire group at risk just for her own emotional release. And now, she has to live with the consequences. Or die with them. Her personal need for vengeance doesn't get to trump the group's need to survive.
Okay, so if just trying to survive is too passive and blind revenge is basically self-destructive, is there another way? Is there a third option? Well, this is the moment when a quiet observer who's been on the sidelines this entire time decides to finally step up. Ken Kaneki has been watching all of this go down, just frozen by fear. But after seeing Toka fail so badly and feeling like he's partly to blame for what happened to Ryoko in the first place, he has this realization: doing nothing is also a choice, and he can't just sit back anymore. He has to act. And this quote right here, this is his huge breakthrough. He finally gets it. Grief is universal. It doesn't matter if you're a ghoul or a human, the pain of losing someone you care about is the exact same. And this shared feeling, this empathy, becomes the foundation for a totally new way of thinking. So let's just break down how he gets there. Kaneki's logic is actually pretty clear. First, he learns from Toka's mistake. Pure rage is a dead end. Second, he finds the one thing that connects both sides, that shared pain of loss. And third, he makes a choice. He's going to act. He's going to fight to protect his friends. But, and this is the key, without becoming a killer himself. So the really important takeaway here is this. Kaneki creates a third path. It's not Yoshimura's passive survival, and it's not Toka's vengeful rage. It's a path of active engagement. It's about standing up and protecting what matters, but doing it in a way that is specifically designed to break the cycle of violence, not keep it going. And this really leaves us with the biggest question of this whole conflict. When you have investigators who truly believe they are heroes protecting humanity, and you have ghouls who believe they are just fighting for their basic right to exist, is there any room for a middle ground? Or is that cycle of an eye for an eye just doomed to leave everyone blind?
You know, in the world of Tokyo Ghoul, survival is this brutal, everyday question. But today, we're going to go way beyond just the physical fights. We're going to dissect a philosophical war, a clash where two opposing truths slam into each other with devastating force. So let's dive in and really look at the anatomy of this conflict.
This line right here, this is our starting point. And it's so much more than just an accusation. It's the core belief for one side of this completely irreconcilable war. It just perfectly sets up the absolute conviction, the deep-seated hatred, and, the impossible stakes of the battle we're about to see.
So, to get a handle on that level of hatred, you really have to understand the world it's coming from. It's a place where two intelligent species, humans and ghouls, are just locked in this violent zero-sum struggle for their very existence. Ghouls, they look just like us, but to survive, they have to eat us. And that single biological fact has basically set the entire world on fire.
Okay, so first let's try to step into the shoes of one of the people fighting this war, the ghoul investigator. From his perspective, what he's doing isn't random violence or simple prejudice. No, to him, it's a righteous crusade. It's a quest to bring justice and order to a world that's being torn apart by monsters.
He actually asks his ghoul opponent this question during their fight, and man, it reveals his entire worldview. He doesn't see an individual, a person with thoughts or feelings. He just sees a predator, and those victims aren't just statistics to him, they're real people.
And this is the foundation of his sense of justice. It isn't some abstract philosophy he read in a book. It is rooted in the very real, tangible pain he sees every single day. The orphaned kids, the grieving families, the good people whose lives were cut short. So for him, this isn't aggression, this is vengeance.
And right here, this is where the professional becomes deeply personal. His whole crusade is fueled by the exact same kind of loss and grief that he accuses ghouls of inflicting on everyone else. He's not just fighting for humanity in the abstract, he's fighting for a friend he lost, which makes this a deeply personal vendetta.
But of course, every crusade has its other side. So now, let's completely flip the perspective. For the ghoul, this isn't some war about morality. It's a desperate, brutal fight for the simple right to exist in a world that is constantly trying to hunt them down.
And here we have it.
the perfect mirror to the investigator's question. The Ghouls' counter-question frames their whole experience not as one of being a predator, but of being persecuted. It highlights all the confusion, the fear, and the absolute rage that comes from being targeted simply for what you are.
And this really gets to the heart of the Ghouls' tragedy. Their own nature is a curse. They feel that same fear when their own loved ones are butchered. From where they stand, their violence is a biological necessity, not some kind of moral failing. They just want to live, but their very existence creates this fundamental, inescapable conflict with humanity.
This one line just crystallizes their whole sense of injustice. They don't see the investigators as protectors. They see them as prejudiced executioners. They see peaceful ghouls, people who are desperately trying to avoid conflict, getting slaughtered just for being born. In their eyes, the investigators are the real senseless monsters.
And this brings us right to the heart of it all. I mean, look at these statements. They're basically identical. Both sides see themselves as the victim of a senseless killing, and both are coming from a place of deep personal pain. They are locked in this perfect, tragic symmetry of grief and revenge.
But then, a third voice enters the chaos. Our protagonist, Kaneki, who is in this unique position of being both human and ghoul. He doesn't see two opposing sides. He just sees one, big, shared tragedy. And he desperately tries to find a third option, a way out of this endless cycle of violence.
This is his whole plea, and it's such a radical call for empathy in a world that's just defined by hatred. He's arguing that the fundamental truth isn't the biological difference between them, but the emotional similarity. He thinks that if they could just recognize this shared pain, maybe, just maybe, that could be a first step toward peace.
So Kaneki tries to break it down. He challenges the core belief that both of them hold. He basically rejects their fatalism and starts with, look, it's not the world that's messed up.
Instead, he completely reframes the problem. He shifts the blame away from some abstract, flawed world and puts the responsibility squarely on the shoulders of the people living in it, both human and ghoul. It's those of us in it.
And from that idea, the first part of his solution is this really simple, direct, and, well, seemingly impossible command. We need to stop fighting. Just put down the weapons, both the real ones and the ideological ones.
And that, of course, leads to the second, even harder step. The path forward isn't about winning, it's about communication. He's calling for them to replace the language of violence with dialogue, no matter how hard that might be, and start talking.
And this is the final piece of his argument. Kaneki's radical idea is that no one here is innocent. We're all to blame. And if the blame is shared, then the responsibility to fix it has to be shared too. It's a complete rejection of the black and white worldview that fuels this whole entire conflict.
But, you know, as powerful as that idea is, it just crashes against this hard, unyielding wall of entrenched hatred. An idea, no matter how beautiful, can be a really fragile thing when it comes face to face with pure, raw rage.
I mean, the investigator says this, taunting a young ghoul about the murder of her parents. This isn't about justice anymore. This is sadism. It's a level of cruelty that is so deep and so personal that no amount of words, no plea for understanding can possibly touch it.
So when he's faced with this bottomless hate, Kaneki's plea for peace just shatters. To protect the innocent people around him, he's forced to fight. He has to unleash his own monstrous power, while desperately trying to cling to the very humanity he's fighting to save.
And the result is, well, it's devastatingly tragic. The attempt to build a bridge between these two worlds, it fails completely. In the act of defending his ideals, our protagonist becomes even more of the monster he's afraid of. The investigator survives, his hatred now stronger and aimed at a new target. The cycle isn't broken, it's just given a new, more powerful spin.
And so, we're left with this question, right? One that echoes way beyond this story. When the fight against a monster forces you to become one yourself, have you really won? The battle might be over, but the question of who you are, well, that's just beginning.
Today, we're going to break down an incredible, self-contained story from Tokyo Ghoul. Seriously, it's a masterclass in storytelling, mentorship, and the kinds of brutal lessons you can only learn out in the real world. So let's dive into an investigator's very first and most important lesson.
You know this quote from the veteran investigator motto? It's basically the entire lesson in one sentence. It's such a harsh truth, right? It forces you to question everything you think you know and just perfectly sets the stage for our rookie who's about to have his entire worldview completely shattered.
So we're going to follow the very first case of investigator Kotaro Ammon, and we'll see how it completely transforms him. We'll start with the clash between him and his new partner, then see how raw instinct goes head-to-head with hard data. After that, we'll witness a masterful deception, understand the brutal but necessary lesson behind it all, and finally, see the legacy it leaves behind.
All right, first up, the rookie and the veteran. This is where we meet our two main characters. And let me tell you, their partnership is a clash of worlds from the very first second. It's the clean, precise world of the academy versus the messy, chaotic wisdom of the streets.
And this really says it all. On one side, you've got Kotaro Ammon. He's the star pupil, the guy who aced every test, and he lives by the book, by the rules, by the hard data. And then you have Kureo Moto. He's a seasoned pro who couldn't care less about the book. He runs on gut feelings, on instincts, forged from years and years of ugly, real-world experience.
And you can feel Ammon's frustration immediately. I mean, this is what he's thinking to himself. He doesn't see Moto's style as experienced. He just sees a reckless, unprofessional old man. So this isn't just a simple disagreement. It's a total lack of respect from day one.
So, of course, this whole clash of methods gets put to the test right away. This brings us to our second section, a lesson in instinct. Their first case together is to hunt down a dangerous ghoul nicknamed Applehead. And Moto's prime suspect, well, it makes absolutely zero sense to our by-the-book rookie.
And the stakes here, they are incredibly high. This ghoul isn't some petty criminal. We're talking about a prolific killer who's taken 50 lives in the last year alone. There is no room for error. The pressure is on.
So you can just imagine Ammon demanding to see the evidence against Moto's main suspect, who happens to be a 68-year-old woman, and the answer he gets? It's gotta be infuriating. No report, no data, not a single shred of evidence, just instinct. And to make things even worse for Moto's whole gut feeling theory, the hard data seems to prove he's dead wrong. They run a medical check on the suspect's RC cell count, the biological markers they use to identify ghouls, and it comes back at 231. That is firmly in the normal human range. For Amon, this is it. Case closed. The science says she's innocent. But Moto just scoffs at the so-called proof. He's been around the block. He knows the real world is messy, that documents can be faked, and that a little piece of paper means absolutely nothing when you're dealing with a monster. He's playing chess, while Ammon is still learning the rules of checkers.
And this leads us right into our third section, the wolf in disguise. Ammon, completely ignoring his mentor's warnings, goes to talk to the suspect himself. And what he finds is the exact opposite of a monster. She's sweet, she's charming, she seems totally and completely harmless.
I mean, her manipulation is just masterful. She doesn't just act innocent, she praises Amon, playing right into his ego, his sense of duty. She's playing the part of the perfect, grateful citizen, and it completely brings his guard down.
And hook, line, and sinker. It works perfectly. Ammon is now 100% convinced that his veteran partner is just a crazy old man who's lost his edge. He has completely, totally fallen for the act.
And then the mask drops. After Ammon helps this supposedly frail woman with her bag, which is impossibly heavy, she reveals the chilling, simple truth behind her strength. In that one moment, Ammon's entire reality, his faith in rules and data, just shatters. Section 4, the mentor's true lesson. The attack is fast, it's brutal, and Ammon would be dead if not for his partner. But the fight itself, that wasn't really the point. The real lesson was just about to begin. Moto jumps in, saves his life, and then drops this absolute bombshell. This was the plan the whole time. He knew Ammon's by-the-book naivety, his trust in appearances, would make him the perfect bait to draw the ghoul out into the open. It's a harsh, almost cruel method, but in their world, man, it was brutally effective. And this right here, this is the wisdom Moto gives him. This is the core of the job that no textbook could ever teach you. It's not about procedures or paperwork, it's about an absolute, unwavering commitment to face evil, even if it costs you everything. That's what being an investigator really means in their world. This incredibly painful lesson forges a brand new kind of investigator, which brings us to our final section, a partner's legacy. We jump forward in time and we find a very different Ammon, thinking about the man who taught him what this job truly demands. The scene is solemn. We find out that Moto has since died in the line of duty, which makes his lesson about sacrifice all the more real and all the more painful. His wisdom, it's now his legacy. And here, it all comes full circle.
Amon learns that despite the incredibly harsh methods, Mono actually respected him and was proud of him. And Amon, who's no longer that arrogant rookie, can finally see the truth. The crazy old fool was the best partner he could have ever asked for.
So this whole story leaves us with a really crucial question to think about. Ammon had to fail. He had to be tricked. He had to almost die to truly understand his job. It makes you wonder, what are the most important lessons in our own lives? And what did we have to fail at to finally learn them? All right, let's get right into it. That fragile, unspoken truce between ghouls and humans, it's about to be completely shattered. A brand new, super aggressive group has just stormed onto the scene, and their first move was nothing short of total annihilation. So today, we're going to break down the lightning-fast escalation that kicked off the all-out war for the 11th Ward.
And believe me, that is not an exaggeration. This is a direct warning coming from the CCG, the human authorities in charge of all things ghoul-related. Things have gone from bad to worse so fast and so violently that they see no other way out. It's time for war. The stakes just don't get any higher than this. And these are really the two biggest questions, right? Who are these new guys, this organized ghoul faction that just pops up out of nowhere? And how in the world does their path lead them straight to Anteiku, a quiet little coffee shop that's always tried to stay out of the fight? All right, let's try and connect the dots.
Okay, so first things first. Let's talk about the group that basically lit the match and threw it on the gasoline. Ogiri Tree. And you gotta understand, these guys aren't just some random gang of ghouls. No. There's something new, something way, way more dangerous.
I mean, just listen to that. That's the chilling message one of them leaves behind after their very first major attack. The way it's said, with such casual indifference, it just sends a shiver down your spine. It tells you everything you need to know about their ruthlessness. This wasn't a fight. This was an extermination. So here's what sets Aogiri apart. For one, they're highly organized, which is already a huge deal in the ghoul world. That's pretty rare. But on top of that, they're supposedly led by this almost mythical figure, the One-Eyed King. You put that kind of tactical discipline together with that kind of legendary power. Yeah, you're looking at a threat that nobody has ever seen before.
And this is what they did right out of the gate. They didn't just raid a CCG branch, they completely flattened it, took it over. And the scariest part? 0 survivors. But here's the twist. It seems this wasn't just about causing chaos. Their main goal, as far as anyone can tell, was to find a single ghoul, a woman named Rise Kamishiro.
Okay, so you can't just do something that brazen and expect no consequences. So let's flip over to the human side, to the CCG, also known as the Doves, and see what their game plan is to counter this terrifying new enemy.
A quick look at the numbers here really paints a picture, and it is not a pretty one. Ogiri's rolling deep with over 200 members, which is massive for a ghoul group. And we already know what they're capable of, right? They've already proven they can wipe out an entire CCG facility. So this isn't some theoretical threat. It's very, very real.
So, the CCG's plan is pretty straightforward. Fight fire with much, much bigger fire. And they are not messing around. We're talking about evacuating an entire ward of the city just to turn it into a battlefield. And they're on the clock. The plan is to go in, all guns blazing, in just 1 week.
And just to make things even more interesting, while they're prepping for this massive operation, a new element gets thrown into the mix, a total wild card. This kid, Juzo Suzukiya, a new investigator who was apparently brought in by the chairman himself. Nobody knows what to make of him, and he's being tossed right into the deep end.
So while the CCG is planning this giant, citywide war, the conflict is about to shrink down and get intensely personal for the ghouls at Anteiku. Let's see how this massive threat literally just walks right through their front door.
And wow, does it all happen fast. One minute this guy Banjo shows up. Turns out, he's also looking for Rize, and he gives them a friendly heads up. Ogiri is on the hunt, and they're headed this way. And then, boom. Literally moments later, the door gets kicked in and in walk 2 of Ogiri's top executives.
Just think about that warning from Banjo for a second. He doesn't tell them to have Rise fight back, or even to hide. He says, tell her to run. That single word tells you everything you need to know about how dangerous Ogiri is. He knows that if they find her, it's game over.
So yeah, things go from tense to violent in a heartbeat. Ogiri didn't show up to talk. They came to take what they wanted. And what happens next? Well, it changes the entire course of the conflict.
And right away, things get complicated. We get a major plot twist. One of the Aogiri invaders, this guy Iota,
He's Toka's younger brother, the one she hasn't seen in forever. And let's just say he's not exactly thrilled to see her. This whole thing just went from an attack to the worst family reunion imaginable.
And this is the moment. This is the linchpin. The other Owagiri executive, this big, scary guy named Yamori, he suddenly picks up on a familiar scent coming from Ken Kaneki. And whose scent is it? Rise Kamishiro. They came looking for Rise, but they just stumbled upon the next best thing. And just like that, with that one chillingly casual sentence, Kaneki's fate is sealed. They can't find their original target, so he'll have to do. There's no debate, no hesitation, just a cold, simple decision to kidnap him. Now they try to fight back, they really do, but it's just no contest. Ayato brutally overpowers his own sister, and Yamori handles Kaneki without even breaking a sweat. It's all over before it really begins, and just like that, Kaneki is gone, dragged away by Ogiri.
So, Kaneki's been taken, and this single act sets two completely different forces on a collision course with Ogiri's stronghold. You've got this massive professional army on one side, and a small, desperate band of friends on the other. And the difference between their plans is just night and day. The CCG is bringing a sledgehammer. Their goal? Total annihilation. Wipe Ogiri off the face of the earth. And Teku, on the other hand, is bringing a scalpel. Their mission is surgical. Get in, rescue one person, and get out. It's brute force versus a high-stakes heist, and they're both headed to the same place. And even though the odds are completely insane, and to Iku's manager, Yoshimura, he doesn't even hesitate. His philosophy is simple. We don't leave our people behind. For them, this isn't about strategy or winning a war. This is about who they are. This is about saving family.
And just like that, the rescue team comes together. It starts with Toka, who is fully prepared to go it alone if she has to. But then others step up. Nishiki and Banjo volunteer. Then the veterans, Yoshimura and Yomo, make it official. And then, for the biggest surprise of all, in walks Tsukiyama, the guy who literally tried to eat Kaneki, demanding to come along to save his best friend. You really can't make this stuff up.
So, there you have it. The stage is set. You've got the CCG's army mobilizing for total war, and you have Antiku's small ragtag team getting ready for an impossible rescue mission. Both are on a collision course with Ogiri Tree. The question isn't just who gets there first, it's what kind of chaos is going to explode when they all finally arrive.
All right, today we're going to break down one of the most absolutely brutal and pivotal conflicts in the entire Ghoul-human war, the battle for the 11th Ward. And really, this whole thing is defined by one single horrifying philosophy.
Yeah, that's the chilling philosophy right at the core of this. It's not just some empty threat. It's a promise of pure suffering. And believe me, that promise is being delivered right now, in a dark, awful room where this whole story really kicks off. And that's the question, isn't it? It's the spark that lights the whole fire. You've got one person, Ken Kaneki, stuck in the dead center of a storm that's about to pull in hundreds of others. His fate? It's the domino that knocks everything else over. So, to really get a grip on this war, we have to start with the personal horror at its center. It all begins with a prisoner, Ken Kaneki, and the man who's making him suffer. So this torturer, the one they call Jason, he's not just some random sadist. He is a product of this insane world. Get this, he was a victim himself once, and his mind just broke under the exact same kind of pain he's now dishing out. It's this twisted, perfect cycle of violence where he's become a mirror image of the guy who tormented him. And the way he does it is key. Jason uses something called an RC suppression fluid, basically a chemical that shuts down the RC cells that make a ghoul's body so tough. It completely bypasses their natural armor, making their flesh as weak and fragile as a human's. And this isn't just for shock value. It hammers home the complete and utter helplessness of his victims. Okay, so while this personal nightmare is happening in one room, outside, two massive forces are closing in on that same building, and each one wants something very different. On one side, you've got the CCG, right? The human ghoul investigators. Their goal is big picture, it's strategic. Just wipe out the ghoul base. But on the other side, it's Anteiku and their allies, a small group of ghouls with a goal that couldn't be more personal, rescue their friend. So you've got this massive military operation about to collide with a desperate, deeply personal rescue mission.
And let's talk about the scale here. We're looking at an estimated 500 Ogiri ghouls defending the space. That is a serious force. But they are facing an absolutely overwhelming siege. More than 1,000 CCG investigators and cops are moving in for a full-on assault. The odds are just not in their favor. And yet, for the rescue team, all of this entire war, it all comes down to just one guy. One friend they are absolutely desperate to pull out of that dark room.
So all the pieces are on the board, the stakes couldn't be higher, and both sides are locking in their plans. The attack is about to begin.
The CCG's plan is super methodical, almost by the book. Step 1, get the civilians out. Step 2, hit them with everything they've got. Step 3, secure the area. It's a military operation, pure and simple. But see, the rescue team's plan is totally different. They're not trying to win a war here. They're planning a surgical strike. Their entire strategy is to let the CCG cause all this chaos with their huge assault, and then use that chaos as cover to sneak in, grab Kaneki, and get out. The plans are made, the attack kicks off, and the 11th Ward just explodes into pure chaos. So let's jump around and see how this thing is playing out from a few different perspectives on the ground. From the CCG side, it's a brutal, straight-ahead push. You could feel this grim determination, right? A mix of duty and raw aggression as they charge right into enemy territory. And boom, personal rivalries just flare up immediately. We see a key ghoul investigator, a dove, they call him, squaring off with Toka Kirishima, who they know as Rabbit. The big battle instantly splinters into all these little deadly one-on-one fights. And we're also seeing the internal struggles. You've got Investigator Eamon going up against S-rated ghouls. We're talking some of the most dangerous ones out there. And he's just riddled with self-doubt, completely haunted by the memory of his mentor who died in the line of duty. This battle is just as much mental as it is physical. And then we cut back to the rescuers, and you can just feel their desperation. While everyone else is fighting a war, Toka's just fighting through it. Her only focus is finding Kaneki. Every single second that ticks by is another second he's stuck in there being tortured. So on the ground, the tactical situation is just wild. You've got ghouls fighting with military discipline, using quinqués, those are weapons made from other ghouls, against the very people who created them. And the investigators? They can't match a ghoul's raw power, so they're forced to fight dirty, using every trick in the book just to stay alive. So the battle is raging. It looks like the CCG might actually be gaining the upper hand. And then the whole fight is about to be completely flipped upside down. A legendary figure is about to show up. You know, if you were just looking at the reports, the operation would look like a huge success. Squads are checking in, they're securing floor after floor, setting up meeting points. It really feels like the fight is winding down, like they're about to restore order. But then, something appears on the roof of the main building. A presence so powerful it literally stops everyone in their tracks. All that momentum just vanishes. The question isn't if we'll win anymore. Now it's if we'll even survive. And this is the game changer. It's the one-eyed owl, a ghoul that's basically a legend, a myth, an SSS-rated threat, which is the highest, most dangerous classification possible. It's pretty much the most powerful ghoul alive. And just like that, the CCG's victory lap has turned into a desperate fight for survival. And that's the final command we hear from the CCG's top investigator on site. It's not an order to fight anymore. It's just a chilling acceptance of the new reality. He's basically asking for volunteers for a suicide mission, because he knows that's the only thing that has even a prayer against what just showed up. The battle for the 11th Ward? Yeah, it just became something else entirely. All right, today, we're doing something a little different. We're not just telling a story, we're basically performing psychological surgery on a character. We're going to break down exactly how you take a good, gentle person and just shatter them, piece by piece, and then see what gets built in their place. So yeah, let's get into it. What's 1,000 minus 7? I mean, just hearing that question sends a shiver down your spine if you know the context, right? It's not a math quiz. It's a mantra, a lifeline. It's the only thing keeping someone from completely losing their mind in a storm of unimaginable pain. See, here's the thing. While Kaneki is forced to count down, they're cutting off his fingers and toes again and again and again. The counting isn't just to pass the time. Oh no. It's this incredibly twisted way to keep him conscious for every single second of it, to make sure he feels everything and doesn't get the mercy of passing out. He has to cling to those numbers, or his sanity is just gone.
So let's set the stage. A lesson in pain, how a gentle soul is pushed to the breaking point. This is where it all goes down. We've got Kaneki, who's this half-ghoul kid, strapped to a chair. And you realize pretty fast, this isn't just about breaking his body. No, the real target here is his mind. His torturer is trying to tear him apart from the inside out.
And look at the methods here. It's so deliberate. They're not just hurting him, they're teaching him. He's repeatedly dismembered, but because he's a ghoul, he regenerates. So his fingers and toes are cut off over and over and over. Each time they grow back, it's like a scream saying, "You're not human." He's forced to count backwards just to stay sane. And then the centipede in the ear, that's just pure psychological warfare. It's all designed to systematically erase the human part of him. And to understand why this works, you have to understand Kaneki's core programming, if you will. It's this one single idea his mother drilled into him. It's far better to feel pain yourself than to inflict it on others. Basically, take the hit. Always. Never be the one causing harm. It's a beautiful thought, right? But in this world, it's a fatal flaw. So we're deconstructing a philosophy, and this is where it gets really interesting, because the physical torture, that's just the appetizer. The main course is what happens inside his head. He starts hallucinating, having this conversation with Rise, the ghoul who started all this for him. And she just starts picking apart that philosophy, thread by thread. This is the first major blow. You got the ideal in his head, my mom was a wonderful person, a joy to be around. That's the story he's told himself his whole life. But then Riz forces him to look at the reality. His mom worked herself to death, giving money to a lazy relative, and in doing so, she basically abandoned him. Her kindness wasn't this pure, noble thing. It was a weakness that got her killed and left him alone. And Rise just twists the knife with this line. Seems her lessons haven't brought you anything but misery. Oof. I mean, think about that. The one rule he lived by, the thing that was supposed to make him a good person, is the very reason he's strapped to this chair. It's the reason he's suffering. His goodness made him a target. Okay, so now we get to the impossible choice. This is when inaction becomes the deadliest action. Kaneki's whole belief system is already cracked. It's on the verge of shattering. So his torturer, Yamori, decides to give it one final push. He puts two people in front of Kaneki and says, "You're gonna pick which one I kill, him or her." I mean, what do you even do with that? For a guy whose entire life is built on don't hurt others, being forced to choose is the same as being the one holding the weapon. It's a no-win scenario designed to break him. And what does he do? He refuses. He says, "If I choose, I might as well be killing them myself." He sticks to his principles. He's trying to hold on to that last piece of his mother's teaching. In his mind, doing nothing is the only way to not be a killer. But here's the lesson. Because he refused to choose, they both die. That's the number. 2. 2 people are dead because he tried to be good. His inaction wasn't inaction at all. It was an action with a body count. And that's maybe the cruelest lesson of all. Sometimes, refusing to choose is the worst choice you can make. And this is the idea that gets hammered into his head, both literally by Yamori and figuratively by Rise. All the detriment in this world stems from a lack of individual ability. In other words, this isn't bad luck. It's your fault. You are here, and they are dead because you were too weak to do anything about it. So, this is it. This is the moment he finally breaks. And what comes next is him accepting the monster, the birth of a new resolve. He's screaming at the memory of his mom, and for the first time, he lets out the ugly truth he's been hiding his whole life. He asks her, "Why couldn't you just live for me?" He finally admits he wishes she'd been selfish. He wishes she'd chosen him. He wishes she'd been strong enough to protect him, even if it meant hurting someone else. And that's where he lands on his new core principle. Let's call it the resolve to choose. And the definition is simple. To protect one thing, you have to have the strength and the guts to let go of another. His mother couldn't do that, and that's why he sees her as weak now. He realizes that to save anyone, He has to be willing to sacrifice something or someone.
And then comes the final simple acceptance. There's no more denial, no more crying about it, just 3 words that change everything. I am a ghoul. And with that acceptance comes a total shift in perspective. He says, I'm not wrong. What's wrong is this messed up world. He's done blaming himself. It's not his fault he was weak. It's the world's fault for making this monster the only thing that could survive.
And that's it. The switch is flipped. The transformation is done. Welcome to the new Kaneki. The predator replaces the prey. And everything in that room is about to change, like right now.
I mean, just look at the difference. The victim who was begging, please have mercy, no, please stop, is gone. And in his place is a predator who looks at his torturer and says, remember, you're the one who tried to eat me first. It's an absolute 180. The tables haven't just turned, they've been smashed to pieces. So let's just lay it out. Step 1, he's the victim, being tortured by Yamori. Step 2, he hits rock bottom and has to accept his ghoul side just to survive it. And that leads directly to Step 3. He becomes the predator, overpowers Yamori, and completely flips the script. It's a brutal but logical progression. And he leaves his torturer with this final chilling thought. So you'll get what's coming to you when I eat you instead. It's the ultimate reversal. The prey has become the predator in the most literal way possible. The change that happened in his mind is now about to get very, very real. So if you trace the path, it's actually pretty clear. He starts with his mother's mantra, it's better to be hurt. Then he's faced with an impossible choice, and 2 people die because he won't act. That forces him to reject his mother's entire philosophy as a weakness. From there, he accepts what he is, a ghoul, and finally, he completes the cycle by devouring his own torturer. From passive to predator.
And it all leaves you with one big, unsettling question, doesn't it? To survive a monstrous world, did he have to become a monster himself? I mean, was there any other choice? Or is this just what it takes when the world is trying to eat you alive?